I wanted to talk to you about fluoride, Leslie. I believe it's probably the greatest area of disappointment among Port Macquarie voters. I really do believe that, and there are a lot of areas, so that's a fairly big call. Currently, we're one of the very few New South Wales communities to boast unfluoridated water. But in the not-too-distant future, we're going to have it added, and a lot of money has already been spent on the facility, and it will be used. Where do you stand on the issue of fluoridation?
Well, in terms of fluoridation, let me firstly say that, I have had lengthy conversations with a number of those people in the, I guess you can call them the lobby group, about anti-fluoridation. And you're correct, soon we will be one of the last council areas to come on board in terms of fluoridating our water.
It hasn't happened yet, though. I hasten to add that. I know that the money's been spent, but people power can win out at times.
Certainly, and there is a group out there that are working really hard to get their message out there, and I think they have a guest speaker coming to Port Macquarie very shortly, and unfortunately I'm not allowed. I was invited to that, but I'm unable to attend.
So when you communicate with these lobby groups, I'm just really curious to know, they're very convincing. Have you been compelled by their argument?
Look, I'm not going to get into a debate about whether or not we should have fluoridation. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on it. Certainly, I've read the material that they've given me, and on the other hand, I've read material that says, the opposite. So again, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to sit here and debate it with you, but only to say that I acknowledge their concerns. I can understand that they are concerned that they don't have a way out. Like if you don't want fluoridation in your water, you don't have another option. And they've expressed that to me. I think the one thing that is disappointing is that, there was, I guess, a so-called referendum that may not be quite the correct terminology, quite a number of years back when we had a local council election.
And it was voted against quite
you're absolutely right. There was about 73%, I understand, that voted against fluoridation. So in terms of democracy, because obviously as a candidate for a local election, that's what I'm supporting, it is disappointing that wasn't recognised, that vote.
Look, but Leslie, the fact is that we're always going to have people who support fluoride and people who oppose it. I mean, as you said, there's no point in me debating that toss with you, but as the state member, and you've spoken about it there, democracy. What I think the biggest disappointment is from both camps on this issue is that there was a lack of consultation with the community, and the people of Port Macquarie weren't given that option of voting on this issue themselves when they have been in the past, and they should have been given that right this time. I'm interested to know, if you became the state member, what you could do about that to rectify that lack of democracy on the topic of fluoridation.
Well, in terms of the fluoridation issue itself, I don't. I acknowledge that they haven't been, the concerns that group has about not being consulted. But I can say to you this, in a general sense, the Liberals and Nationals are very much about bringing local decisions back to local communities. And we that is reflected in actual fact in a whole range of our policies. Things like our local district hospital boards, where local people are engaged about decisions that are made in their health system, in their hospitals, and so on. So we very much recognise and appreciate the need to consult with local communities. And as I said, you will see that reflected in a number of our local policies.
So in terms of, that's a lovely sentiment, but as you know, people are quite sceptical of politicians. You've said there the National Party's committed to local decisions being brought back to local communities on an issue as humongous as fluoride in our local water, one that can affect the health of our children, our families. Can you make a commitment here tonight that if you were the state member, you'd bring that decision back to the community and let us vote on it?
I certainly can't make that commitment tonight. As I said, I acknowledge those concerns that the people have had. I've expressed to them the concerns that I have, that in the past, there was a view by this community. Look, it's certainly something that continued to be discussed and keep on the table. But as you know, Tim, it's not too far away that is going to take place. I know that Andrew Stoner made some representation on behalf of that group about what options there were for people who, for health reasons, couldn't have the fluoride in their water. I'll continue to consult with him on that.
It's time to talk.